यथा अग्निर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता ह्या सर्व विद्या स्वरूपांग तांग शारदांग प्रणमाम्यहम. Namaskar and welcome to Pradipta's Musings. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi's auspicious Janmatithi is going to be celebrated by all the devotees of Ramakrishna Math and Mission on 22nd December 2024. On this auspicious occasion, I am offering my humble tribute to Sri Sri Ma through this musing of mine, which is based on her holy persona and exemplary life, which bears testimony to the lofty ideals of practical Vedanta. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi was the epitome of peace, poise, grace, fortitude, bliss, unconditional love, empathy, purity, forbearance, and above all, renunciation. Shakti, the divine feminine energy, was invoked in the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi by Sri Ramakrishna, who was her husband, her guru, and her ideal in life. Married life of Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sarada Devi bears testimony to the holy ideals of sacred bonding between husband and wife, which is beyond all mundane physical realms and which helps in achieving spiritual perfection, which is the very goal of human life. Holy Mother was the epitome of universal motherhood, and Sri Ramakrishna had established her as the ideal of motherhood. She is the epitome of true womanhood, and she can serve as the ideal of all women in today's century as well. Holy Mother assumed the role of an ideal daughter, ideal wife, sister, mother, and guru as well. She was always aware about her divine stature and remained in a very high spiritual plane of total renunciation, in spite of being amidst all the worldly activities and dispensing all her household responsibilities and duties to those who sought her holy company. She was born in an obscure village called Jairambati in 19th century Bengal, in a very humble rural household. Sri Sarada Devi grew up like any other ordinary rural Bengali girl of the bygone era, but she showed extraordinary spiritual traits even at that tender age of early girlhood. She showed a strong sense of responsibility. She exhibited lot of poise, grace, great compassion, love, empathy, even while facing all the hardships of a poor rural life. Let me read out a little about how the little girl Sarada lived her unique childhood days from the book Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, authored by Swami Gambhirananda. The mother spent her early days in a poor family, but poverty was in a sense a boon and made life sweeter by providing greater opportunity for her to reveal her affection for all around. Ramchandra Mukhopadhyay was the father of Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi. Ramchandra could not raise enough paddy from his lands to meet the expenses of the family, so he grew some cotton also. Shyamasundari Devi would carry the little girl Sarada to the cotton field, where she would lay her down and go to pluck the cotton pods. When Sarada grew up to be a little girl, she would help her mother in this work, as also in spinning sacred thread with the cotton, which would fetch some cash for cloth and other family requirements. How her sense of responsibility was even at that age. Sarada had also to look after her brothers. I used to go with them, she said, to bathe in the Ganges, that is in the Amodar, which was our Ganges. After finishing our holy bath, I would eat with them some fried rice there and then bring them home. Fried rice means muri, which is a form of paddy eaten as breakfast in Bengal. The Ganges had always an uncommon attraction for me. As for other engagements, she said, as a girl I would plunge into neck-deep water to cut grass for the cattle and walk to the fields with fried rice for the labourers. Swami Gambirananda has called muri fried rice. He has referred to muri as fried rice. During one year when locusts had nearly destroyed the crop, I went round the fields gathering paddy. As regards her education, she said, I sometimes accompanied Prasanna, Ramnath, a cousin, and others when they went to school in their boyhood, and thus I learnt a little. Those days it was very difficult for women to learn how to read and write. So literacy was not prevalent among women those days. But Sri Sarada Devi had a strong desire to learn how to read and write. So when she used to accompany her brothers, small brothers, to school as a responsible elder sister, she used to learn a little by going there to school along with them. In addition to these brief and casual references to her childhood days, some information can be gathered from her contemporaries. Thus, Sri Raj Mukherjee's sister Aghormani Devi, a companion and playmate of the mother's girlhood days, said the mother was very simple by nature. She was simplicity incarnate. Nobody had any altercation with her during childhood sports and games in which she often played the master or the mistress of a house. She of course made dolls and played with them, but she preferred worshipping with flowers and bell leaves, Kali and Lakshmi in images fashioned by herself. Shishima could make small clay idols of goddesses, and she used to play this sort of worship with her playmates. When other girls fell out, she would mediate, settle their quarrels and re-establish cordial relations. How matured she was at that tender age that she would settle the quarrels of her playmates. Once during the worship of the goddess Jagaddatri, Sri Ram Hriday Ghoshal of Haldipukur was present. Finding the mother lost in meditation before the deity, he kept his eyes fixed on her for a long time. But as he could not make out as to who was the deity and who the mother, he left the place in fear. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi was Divine Mother herself. So she meditated at that tender age even. Such was her concentration during meditation that an onlooker could not differentiate between the worshipped deity and the worshipper little girl. Other old people would say, from her young days, Sarada was as diligent in her work as she was intelligent, quiet and well behaved. She had never to be asked to work. Of her own accord and with her own resourcefulness, she would meticulously perform her duties. Dutifulness and sense of responsibility were innate in the nature of Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, and she exhibited these qualities from a very tender age. The self-identification of the mother was Jagaddatri in her meditation, which became pronounced enough to awe a casual observer, was not an isolated event in this unique life. The girlhood days of the Holy Mother were made surprisingly singular by a strange combination of divinity and humanity, with the predominance of the former as it were. Mother was as divine as she was human, and such a wonderful combination of both spirituality and secularism was there in her holy persona. And this is what practical Vedanta is. Whatever others might think of her in her later life, she then generally revealed herself in her human role. But at the time of which we are writing, it seems as though she stood at the meeting point of heaven and earth and could not decide as to which side she should lean, fresh as she was from the world above. Or it might have been that it was ordained from above that those early days should be divinely encompassed. So it is that the Holy Mother said with reference to those days, "Mind you, my dear, as a girl I saw that another girl of my age always accompanied me, helped me in my work and frolicked with me, but she disappeared at the approach of other people. This continued till I was 10 or 11 years old." This was the divine vision which the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi used to have during her early girlhood days, up to the age of 10 or 11 years, that she was always accompanied by another divine girl in everything she did and wherever she went. When she went to the water to cut grass for the cattle, there would appear a girl of the same age to assist her in the work. No sooner the mother returned from the shore after depositing a sheaf cut by the new girl, then she would find another sheaf kept ready in the meantime. So this is the proof of divinity of the Holy Mother. This was inborn divinity in the Holy Mother which made her experience such divine visions at an early childhood. We have now an idea of how busy the mother was in her early life. From her reminiscences of those days, we also gather that she had off and on to undertake such hard tasks as cooking. But though she was a precocious and painstaking little girl, her hands were not strong enough for the whole arduous process, and so she had to call in her father for taking down heavy utensils from the fireplace. She had to fetch pitchers of water from the tank for domestic purposes, and she took this opportunity to learn swimming with the help of the pitcher. When she was 11 years old, in the year 1864, the countryside was ravaged by a terrible famine. Her father had garnered some paddy, and though she was by no means affluent, he was moved so much by the appalling misery around that he opened his granary and started a free canteen. So her father was also very compassionate and empathetic by nature, and he was always ready to offer service to suffering humanity in spite of himself being in a poor condition. The Holy Mother described it thus: "What dire famine raged there once, and how many starving people came to our house. We had stocked the previous year's produce. My father had the paddy husked into rice and got potfuls of khichdi, cooked by mixing it with black lentils. Everybody in this house will eat this," he said, "and offer it to whoever may come. Only for my Sarada, a little rice of good variety will be cooked and she will eat it." The Mukhopadhyay household was very fond of little Sarada, and she had a very special position in the household, and she was very much adored by her father, Ramchandra Mukhopadhyay. On some days, the number of people became so great that khichdi ran short. Cooking would restart at once. No sooner was the hot food served on the leaves than I would fan it with both hands so that it might cool quickly. For alas, the hungry stomachs could not brook delay. One day came a girl of either the lowly Bagdi or the dome caste. The hair on her head had become shaggy for want of oil, and her eyes were bloodshot like those of a lunatic. She ran to the tub where some rice dust was soaked for the cattle and began gulping that. She wouldn't heed the people who were crying out, "Come in and eat the khichdi." Only after swallowing some rice dust did she hear the call. So dreadful was the famine. After learning the bitter lesson of that year, people began to garner their paddy. From the vivid picture drawn up by the simple, unvarnished and incomparable words of the mother, we find how busy she was seeking to cool by fanning with her soft, delicate hands the hot food for the starving people, she who in future would reign in the hearts of hundreds with the irresistible claim of a mother. And how full of affection for that tender darling of a child was the poor Brahmin. The mother's life then was like that of any other girl in the village, but in the midst of this rural simplicity, now and then a sudden divine flash dazzles us. This interplay of light and shade could not perhaps entirely escape the notice of our brothers or of our parents, who wanted to hug to themselves their small sister or smaller daughter as any other human being did. Perhaps because of the unforgettable impression of such moments of light, Shyamasundari Devi, mother of the Holy Mother, said in later life, "My child, I wonder who you really may be, my dear. How can I recognize you, my daughter?" The daughter, of course, then brushed this compliment aside with apparent dislike, saying, "Who am I? Who can I be? Have I grown 4 hands like any deity? If so, why should I have come to you?" So, Holy Mother was so humble and so simple and without any vanity that she dismissed her mother's compliments that she is goddess, that she is a divine goddess who descended on earth as her mother's daughter. What Sarada Devi did as a sister becomes clear from a talk that she had one day with her mother. Shyamasundari Devi said, "Sarada, may I have a daughter like you in my next life?" The daughter replied with a show of anger, "You will drag me down again to think that I should come again to bring up your children." With the memory of the quiet diligence of her affectionate daughter still fresh in her mind, Shyamasundari Devi repeated with an obvious appeal, "May I indeed get you again, my darling?" So, the Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi, was so much adored by her parents because of her divine qualities that they wanted her again and again as their daughter in all their next births. Uncle Kali, too, once reiterated this compliment when he said, "Our sister is Lakshmi incarnate. She spared no pains to keep us alive. Husking paddy, spinning sacred thread, supplying the cattle with fodder, cooking, in short, most of the household work was done single-handed by our sister." So, this is the book from which I was reading. Holy Mother, as a little girl also, showed such divine qualities which prove that morning always shows the day. Holy Mother, she is the ideal for all women, and not only women, for all men and women in this world, so that they can implement the lofty ideals of Vedanta in their worldly lives. Jananing Saradang Deving Ramakrishnang Jagadgurung Pada Padme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhu.